Hey guys, it is Christina here. I hope you are having the most amazing day ever. I thought I would come on and talk about what challenges people have when it comes to their health. I asked this question in my in one of my Facebook groups. I asked the question is what is the most challenging thing for you and your family around health? And it was interesting. I just wanted to see what types of things came up for people because, of course, as we journey along our own journeys, we often forget some of the things that maybe were at the beginning or things that are not necessarily in our field of reference, and so on. Hi there. Kerry, nice to see you here. Everybody else say hi when you jump on. So I asked that question, what is your most challenging thing around health? And I really encourage you, pop yours into the comments here and I will riff on it and talk about it. But some of the major ones that came up, and it came up for a number of people, and that was that their partner was not on the same page. And I totally get that because I have, of course, a number of clients who are making their health choices for their children or for themselves, and their partner is not on the same page, and it is incredibly challenging. There are times when I want to reach through my device and strangle that partner sometimes because of how much they sabotage the actual health journey for their own children and for their partner by not being on the same page. And of course, there are different ways that you can kind of manage that. You can come to some type of negotiation, like inside the house, we're going to eat this way. But if you're out and working, or you're going for a drive, or you're doing whatever, you do whatever you want to do there. But just don't bring the packaging or the food products actually into the house because it can be such a sabotaging tool. I remember one client wanted to start working with me, and they were talking about gaps because their son had autism, and she was like, we're just going to put him on gaps because the rest of my children are atypical and they don't have any like autism or anything like that. So we're all just going to eat what we want to eat, and we're just going to make him eat gaps. And I was like, oh my God, how could you do that? Because not only were they like, they weren't even anywhere near gaps. Like they would sit down with like KFC and their son was sitting there with like a bowl of soup and a chicken drumstick because of he was eating gaps and the rest of them weren't. And it was like this, for me, just my mother's heart went, oh my gosh, that's not happening in my household. Like my kids are not doing this on their own. We're doing this all together. We're a family unit. We're doing it all together. And I couldn't even fathom that. No, of course, I passed them on to another practitioner because I don't know that I would have been the best practitioner for them in that sense. But it can be incredibly challenging when your partner is not on the same page. So one of which has to be that you start having some of those conversations about why you're taking the actions that you're taking, and you really start to have those educational conversations, engaging your partner in the reasons behind it and the reasons why you want to do it. And sometimes they start to come around, sometimes they don't. But when you talk about the whys as opposed to I want you to do this and I'm dictating to you what you get to do, then you have less resistance, and you are working with somebody more as a team versus working against each other. And coming to some sort of negotiation can be quite challenging. Hi Sophia, you're from Adelaide. Yes, South Australia. Nice to see you on my live. But some of those conversations can be really challenging when you're talking with your partner about why you want to do those things. And they're really worth having because if you can get your partner on board when it comes to a health journey, it actually makes it so much easier. Like the families that I work with that really start to take off and, do so well are the ones where the husband and the wife or the partnership is actually working as a team. Now that can be super hard because of course now we're seeing more families that are separated, or you might have children in different families where they go to their dads and it's a different situation there versus, hey Emma, good afternoon. Eva is excited to see your face. Hi Eva. But like I was saying, when you've got families that are, going between two households, you do the best you can with what you have available to you. So for us, and I've shared this story a couple of times, that when we first started GAPS, we started GAPS because my husband had irritable bowel syndrome. And it was to the point where he wouldn't be able to sleep at night because he was in so much pain. And I had 4 children under 4, and I was pregnant with number 5 at that point. And I was like, I need you to be functioning. You need to not be tired. You need to not be like, sleeping all the time or grumpy because you're tired, or have a short fuse. I need you to actually be functional and actually helping me here. And so we started GAPS for that purpose, to help him with his gut. And of course, as a partner, I was like, we're doing this together because I'm sure I'll benefit from it too. And of course I absolutely did. And I'd always made this decision that I'm not going to make 2 meals. I'm going to, you're going to eat what I eat. So I made GAPS for our kids. We did GAPS intro. The kids did intro with us, but they got to have fruit. So I let them have fruit, and I let them, one day a week we would go to church, and there would be like a potluck dinner. And so I would let them have that Sunday where they would eat that potluck dinner. It was a bit of a day off for me because I just had to prepare for Ben and I. But that's what happened. And even with that, we saw amazing results for them on their gut healing journey. And so I want to encourage you that if you are in a split family where, your kids are with you sometimes, they're with their dad sometime, however you're working that out, you do the best you can while you can with the resources that you actually can, because it will all come together in actually serving a greater outcome. Yes, while they're at their dad's house, or vice versa, while they're at their mum's house, there could be some challenges there. They might not necessarily be getting the food that is going to be beneficial to them, and then they come back, and it's a challenging situation. But remember, every good meal you put into your child is another meal that they weren't going to get if you didn't make that decision. So do what you can, with what you've got, and do the best you can, and try and negotiate as much as you can as well. So what else do people have? And please pop into the comments, what are your health challenges? What are some of the biggest health challenges that you have on your hands? One of the comments was, other people trying to feed my children. So I remember what was it? It was easily like 8 years ago, and I need to redo this blog. I'm going to rewrite this blog because I've got more information to pack into it now. But around 8 years ago, I was starting to, write blogs. And one of the things that I wrote about was, is a treat really a treat? Like, really, let's say you're rewarding your child for, whatever it is that you're rewarding them for. They've done the dishes, or they've, done their schoolwork, or they've been successful in something. And then you go and buy them, say, lollies or McDonald's or something else. Is that actually really giving them a treat? Like, we think about it as a treat, a reward. Ice cream's the retreat for eating, is the treat after eating dinner. Like, we think about it as a treat. But actually, if you really want to get down to, not mincing words, you're giving them a poison-laden food that's going to make their bodies sick in order to reward them for doing good behavior. Now, isn't that messed up? For me, that just seems so messed up. When I really sit down and think about it, that's so messed up, that I'm giving you something that's going to make you sick to encourage you with the good behavior that you've done. It just, when you bring it down and you boil it down to its bare basics, wouldn't a treat be something more fun? For me, we've started to do treats as, let's go to the zoo, let's go bowling, let's go do an activity together, let's engage in something that we're building our relationship with. And for my kids, if we go bowling, it's a treat for somebody doing something amazing, then they're celebrating with their whole family this treat, and it actually then becomes more of a treat. So it's just an interesting comment or concept to start playing around with. Is a treat really a treat? And maybe you could start thinking about ways that really would treat your children versus providing them with a food that actually is going to weaken their immune system, damage their health, make them feel sick and yuck, or put them into a sleep coma or a sugar coma, any of those types of things. Maybe we could rephrase and reframe on how we're going to do treats. And that's, again, a beautiful negotiation you can have with your significant other and within your family. Like, how are you going to do it? Just because the world has been doing it one way does not mean you have to follow along with them. Sophia is saying gut health, spiral health, mental health are linked. Absolutely. What happens in our gut affects our brain. We cannot make the beautiful neurochemicals that help us to feel good, get up and do things, sleep well, all of that sort of stuff if our gut health is not great. Emma, I don't believe it is. That's like saying, here, have some poison for doing the right thing. And I absolutely agree with you. Yes. Sophia, she drinks aloe vera gel to help balance the sugar levels as she's prone to catching type 2 diabetes. And, you know, the general rule of thumb for me is if you're eating something that's got glucose in it or fructose in it, then you want to balance that with a fat. So my favorite one is raspberries and cream or sour cream. That's my favorite balancing act there. My dad used to do it when I was little, and I love it. Sharon is saying, so messed up, but everywhere people undermine us by giving our kids lollies. And absolutely, I hate going to the park because I have one of those kids that, you know, if there's a birthday party at the park, he will navigate towards the food at that birthday party. And, you know, if there's an opportunity, he's kind of like that, you know, seagull that will swoop in and take the opportunities. I have to watch him like a hawk. Not so much now, but previously when he was like a little tacker, you know, he would easily sweep in. But yes, other people feeding your kids can be a really challenging thing because, you know, they don't necessarily get it. They don't necessarily understand what you're trying to do. And especially when you're on GAPS, I remember, you know, because Easter, for example, is one of those times where everyone gives you an overwhelming amount of chocolate. Like, it's like the whole year's worth of chocolate in like one day. And so, you know, kids get all of this chocolate and, you know, we were doing GAPS and I'm like, nope, no chocolate, no thank you. Or we'll take the present and then we've got to throw it in the bin and we've got to do something else with it. There was this really cool experiment not that long ago where it was a couple of years, maybe 4 or 5. My husband just gave me a letter, so a bill probably. Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. And what they did was they decided that together that every treat that came into the house, like, you know, birthday presents that had chocolates and stuff in it, or, you know, a lolly from school or any of that type of stuff, that they would collect it and collate it all up and put it in the freezer. And then after a year, they actually had this overabundant mountain of sugary foods that this kid had been given for 1 year just from, you know, being good at school and getting a lolly reward from that. Grandparents just giving treats here and there. You know, getting it in a birthday present and all of that sort of stuff. Like there was this mountain of food on their table from lollies that had been given to them. And if she'd eaten all of that in 1 year, then, you know, she was massively moving towards having some sort of chronic illness, especially if she did that year after year after year after year. And it was a great eye-opening moment for the child and the mother to realize how much crappy food that is lacking of nutrition, is void of nourishment, was creeping into their household that wasn't even coming in through them. It was coming in through other people giving them food-based rewards. So yes, it can be really hard and it can feel really offensive. Like I've been on that situation where I feel like I'm offending people by saying, no, please don't give that to my child. But if you've got a child who has some behavioral disorders, especially when they're given some of those foods, it can mean the difference between having an amazing day and having a very, very not fun day. And it's worth it. So Melanie's saying, my parents, particularly my mum, always used food as a treat or a reward. And yeah, I grew up with that as well. You had a good day, you would go get takeout. All of those sorts of things, like treats. Food has been used as a bit of a reward system, but has it been used in a really great way? Because I think that we can, in some ways, use food as a reward, like sitting together and having a beautiful family meal. Like for me, one of my favorite reward meals is to make salmon for my family with a salad. Like that is my favorite one, because of course salmon for a family of 9 costs quite a bit of money, but it is one of my favorites to actually enjoy together as a family, where we're thoroughly enjoying our food and thoroughly enjoying connecting with each other and playing a game or using conversation starters so that we're connecting with each other. And I think we can use it in that sense of bringing ourselves together, but it is often not being used that way, where you're picking like for me, it's one of those joyous moments where I'll go and pick like the best cheese, or, you know, the best cut of meat, or the best vegetables, or things that we don't normally get but are really delicious but healthy for us. That can be one of the ways that we do it as well. So Sophia's saying, I offer them rewards of other kinds that involve outdoor activities such as tree climb. Awesome. And I think that's another great way to do that. Hey, Elijah. Nice to see you here. Emma's saying, let me open that. Haha, same as Eva. Every birthday party we have ever brought your own food to. They never cater for veganism. Yep. I'm sure a lot of people actually don't know how to cater for veganism. So of course they can't do it because they don't know how. And that's part of the educational system, is to educate people on all sorts of different things. But I've had to say I've had my own food. Don't eat theirs. Similar to the gaps, probably, yes. Autistic kids love rewards particularly, yes. Always watch for food labels, absolutely. Hey Lynn, nice to see you here. Encourage kids to participate in healthy cooking, yes. One of the things that we did for our homeschool a couple of years ago was we did our own My Kitchen Rules, because my kids loved My Kitchen Rules, and I would sit there and watch that with them all of the time. And so each child got the opportunity to make their own kitchen rules. So they had to make the menu, they had to design the menu, they had to dress the table, and they had to decorate the table, and then they had to make the food and serve the food and do all the things. And it was a great way of actually getting them involved in the cooking and seeing what goes on while they're cooking the thing, but also this sense of amazing pride when they were to put their dish up on the table, and of course everything was amazing. You know, we didn't give negative scores for anything, we just went, this is delicious, this is amazing, and we would celebrate with them. But it was that moment of sense of pride, sitting down at the table, sharing meals and foods that they had picked out, that they had designed, and that they had made with the whole family. And there was just this overwhelming sense of pride, which is the same sort of sense of pride that I get when I grow my own food and we bring that inside and we get to consume it in a really beautiful way. So Sharon's saying our kids were given those jelly beans that come in the paint cans. Oh my God. Yes. After church one Sunday, and mine and my friends' kids were bouncing off the walls. Oh my God, I could imagine. That's a huge amount of jelly beans. I just loudly announced that next week that if anyone ever did that again, they could have my kids for the whole week. It never happened again. That is a good idea. Emma is saying, yes, I feel so embarrassed. All the kids running to the party table, and I'm sitting there with Eva, with her metal lunchbox. They're eating party junk food, and Eva gets veggie sticks type of thing. The other parents look and make comments all the time. Oh, she's eating healthy. No, she's just eating. I agree. She's just eating. She's just eating real food. It's the same when we start that conversation around organic food. Like, you know, 100 years ago, it wasn't organic food. It was just food. Now we have to actually label the things so that we know what we've got, as opposed to, you know, we're just going to buy food. We have to actually label it specifically. This is the food that's not been poisoned or had chemicals used on it. It's just food, and we need to get back to just food instead of all of the marketing and the other crappy processes that we have. Hey, Tanya. We were just talking about this yesterday after going to the shops. The kids were asking for chocolate for a treat. So we talked about rephrasing it. I want to eat for health and to build my army and my immune system. Beautiful. Rather than poisoning it. Amazing the timing of this conversation. Need to take a list of new treats. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like cherries, for example, is one of my favorite treats to give my kids because it's packed full of magnesium. It does all sorts of beautiful other things for their bodies and they're like really tasty. So yes, cherries is one of my treats. Berries generally fall into a nice treat for my family because again, they're low in fructose and carbohydrate. They're like a reward because, you know, we don't get a lot of them at the moment. We're growing some, but they're not up yet. And so they actually feel like having a bit of a reward because you're having something that, you know, you don't get to have all the time. You know, it's expensive to get a little punnet of like strawberries or raspberries for a family of 9. So, you know, when we get it, we thoroughly enjoy it and it's thoroughly like an actual retreat and a reward for treat, not retreat. It's a treat and a reward for us. So absolutely, yes. Sophia is saying my parents had a huge macadamia organic garden. Oh, sorry, I misread that. A huge organic garden complete with chickens, tomatoes, chilies. Yum. I definitely am going to have a go at growing chilies this year. I don't eat a lot of them, but I'm definitely going to grow some and I want to dehydrate them and have my own screaming happening in my house because someone's not getting their way. Yeah, I want to make my own peppers and stuff like that, dried peppers. Emma, and berries are expensive, so if you're not growing them yourself, yes, they are expensive, which is why we are growing them this year. Every time I go to Bunnings, I'm grabbing a few more strawberries, and I'm about to do another huge order with diggers and put some more strawberries in and a whole bunch of different varieties and see what we can get to grow. It's all fun. It's all play. So yes, that was the other thing that people talked about was other people trying to feed their kids and trying to avoid it. Birthday parties. One of the things that I did when we were really on early stages of gaps and towards, you know, full gaps in particular, it was much easier. But one of the things that I did was I had set myself this personal mission that my food would be the most tastiest food on the table. Like I really tried to put time and energy into it. So I would make like a cheesecake that I'd made from milk kefir, where I'd made the milk kefir, I strained out the cream, so I had the cream cheese from that, and then I would turn that into the cheesecake, and then I would like use, you know, beautiful raspberries and have like a topping of jelly or gelatin made with like a good quality gelatin. So it would be like this raspberry type cheesecake, and I'd use almonds or macadamias, etc. for the base. So I would really go all out in trying to make it that everybody there would want to eat my food. And of course my food would be massively packed full of probiotics or other healthy stuff, like a really slow cooked meal. That was my personal goal, was to make people drool over what we were eating. Carrot sticks are a little bit harder to do that with, but you can make some amazing dips that make that happen as well. Okay, so what are your most challenging things? What are the things that you find the most challenging when it comes to the health of your family and creating health in your family, or even just for yourself? Emma's saying, yeah, I do that with veganism to make sure my food's the best, tastes the best, looks the best, and any negative thought anyone ever had about veganism is debunked. I love it. I love it. So the other thing that somebody said was that they feel really overwhelmed, and I can totally get that. It's one of the conversations that I have with fellow naturopaths, especially when I'm mentoring a new practitioner about what to do in their sessions and in their consults, is don't overwhelm your client, because they can come to us and we can say, you need these 20 things or you need to start doing these 20 practices. And then of course they feel so overwhelmed that they actually don't do any of it. But if you take baby steps every day or every month, you decide, okay, this month I want to focus on doing this, so that you're slowly and surely actually progressing in the direction that you want to go with your health, you're going to get there. At the end, if you did one thing, you focused on one goal for once a month when it came to your health, at the end of the year, you would have 12 new health practices that are absolutely built into your lifestyle, versus today we're going to wipe off everything and we're going to start from scratch and we're going to do exactly, nothing's going to be bad, it's all going to be awesome. You feel completely overwhelmed, especially when you realize that even some of the things that you think are good actually aren't good. Even like supermarket meat and that being sprayed with particular bacteria to make it look fresh and plump and all of that sort of stuff. There's so much marketing that's working against you when it comes to healthy eating that it's just not funny. And so slow and steady wins that race when you can really start using real products, take the time to find out what's in your product, whether it's going to be good and healthy, get back to real food like vegetables, meats, fruits, original dairy, all of that sort of stuff, bringing it back to just eat that real food and get it in the real steps as you can, but focusing on one thing at a time helps you win the race. You get there much more successfully than trying to do everything all at once and being overwhelmed because there's so much information that's coming in saying this is good or this is bad or any of those types of things. Absolutely, Sharon, baby steps. And Melanie saying, I struggle with the feeling that I'm always in the kitchen. Yes. So I was sharing with my GAPS group where I'm teaching how to understanding GAPS, sharing with them that my strategy when it comes to the kitchen is to get all my cooking done in the first hour or two of the day, so that while I'm making breakfast, that lunch and dinner are already organized and done before the rest of the day happens, so that in that day, I'm getting the breakfast happening, the lunch is usually a soup, and then dinner might be on its way as well. So I've got everything happening so that when we get to that meal, it's either just blending the soup or reheating the soup from the previous day or adding more vegetables to whatever dish that I'm cooking in the evening, so that I'm really just focusing on consolidating the time that I'm in the kitchen. And we don't do a lot of snacks. But consolidating that time so that you're making the most out of it, so that you're not in there all day. And another beautiful thing about having a garden is now we can go walk outside and we can just start to pick things from the garden, like sugar snap peas. We just pick them straight from the plant and you can eat them. Same with as the carrots are coming up, you can just pull them out, wash them, walk around the garden, and you've got yourself lunch. So you're outside and you're not even inside, and you're consuming some beautiful food that is literally just came out of the ground. Casserole roasts are healthy as well as seafood, Mediterranean diet, plan ahead. Yes. Yeah. Talina is saying we're 30 minutes from town, so when the kids are hungry when we're out. Yeah, that can be a really challenging thing. And that's when I do some sneaky things, like I keep some food in the car. So if we're going to be out, I'll grab a bag of apples, or I'll go to the supermarket. One of my favorite treats that Ben and I used to have, especially when we were on GAPS, was some cashews, some cheese, and then maybe some smoked salmon. That was our quick grab, along with a bag of carrots, a bag of apples, and then everybody was had plenty of food to eat. And they were satiated, they were full, those foods satisfied them, as opposed to needing to snack all day. And that, it usually costed us about $25, whereas us eating at, say, takeout, unless we were eating fish, unless we were just eating chips and gravy, everything else is $40, $50, $100 for my family to eat as a takeout meal. So I figure spending $25 at the supermarket to buy some nuts and some cheese and, some meat and some apples and carrots, great. Well, money well spent for us. Okay, what else was coming up here? Okay, so another question that came up was the challenge of understanding the complexity of multiple health issues in children and the stress of dealing with the so-called medical professionals. Very interesting. When it comes to complex and multiple health issues, for me, the first place always is to begin with the gut, because the gut is the powerhouse of our digestive system. that feeds the rest of our body. So if you don't have enough nutrition or particular nutrients coming into that gut, being absorbed by that gut, being broken down and assimilated with the rest of the body, you're not going to be able to feed the rest of the health body systems. So of course there's going to be some imbalances, and then you'll get multiple imbalances because you'll have organ systems essentially fighting for the same minimal amount of nutrients that are available to them. And so that's when we're starting to get multiple and complex health issues, especially in our children now, and especially as people start to age and that youth factor kicks out because it's not there anymore to keep you chugging along. When we have those multiple and they seem really complex, we need to make it simple. And the simple areas, right, I'm just going to focus on the gut. If I can get that gut working well, if I can put the food in it, that it's going to be beneficial to all of those organ systems, and overall the whole body as a whole is going to benefit from that. So for me, doesn't matter what the health condition is, when we've got some of those complex things, it's really about starting with the gut, getting that in alignment, making sure you're digesting your food, making sure you're putting in food that's going to be really nourishing for you, and making sure that you've got the availability to actually absorb it. Then we're going to be doing some amazing things, and your body will just start to get better from there. Like, remember, there is this story that has been told to so many of my clients that their body is broken. You know, they'll go to a medical professional and they'll say, well, it's just unfortunate that your body doesn't work that way, that your body is broken, that there's something wrong with your body. I want to tell you, there's nothing wrong with your body. It's not broken. You just need to learn how to feed you. Not feed everybody else, how to feed you and to feed your individual body and how it works, and start to listen to it and start to understand that these health conditions that you're experiencing are just feedback. It's just feedback from your body asking you to listen to it, to hear it, and you might need some help to interpret it, because what has happened for many people is that they've been so disconnected from their body. You know, we learn this from childhood. We start hopefully being breastfed babies who were, you know, demand fed, where you got fed when you needed to feed and you stopped eating when you didn't need to feed anymore. Hopefully you've gone from that. Some babies are not like that. Some babies have been taught straight away they have to be into a routine and they get fed every 4 hours and this is how much they get to eat, and, you know, they have to eat that much, and, you know, we're shoving it in. Like, depending on where you've come from, depends with how quickly we move into that phase of, now you're going to eat this food. This is it. You're going to clean your plate. You're going to eat at this time. We start to lose contact with what our body actually needs and connecting back into those resources of and feedback that the body's saying, I'm done now. I don't need any more. Instead of, it's breakfast, you're going to eat, or it's lunch and you're going to eat, or, and this is how much you're going to eat, and you need to clean your plate because there's starving kids in Africa, and all of that sort of messaging where we stop listening to what our body is wanting and we get trained to ignore those signals and messages from our body. And so sometimes regaining that conversation with your body is like learning a foreign language, and you might need an interpreter. And that's what that's what I do. I'm interpreting that information and helping you relearn what your body is saying to you and listening to it. And the more you listen to it, the stronger the voice becomes, and the more in tune you get to hearing what's happening for you and how you need to help your body. It's just a matter of re-engaging in that. And for me, I see that as an amazing superpower. When your body is out of alignment, when it's creating some disease or it's in a state of dis-ease, it's a superpower. It's like your body telling you, hey dude, come and listen to me, because we need you to listen so that we can fix everything, because every cell in your body wants you to live. It wants you to thrive. It wants you to grow. It wants you to live. It's cheering you on. It just needs you to listen to it and actually take the action to love it and nourish it and build it up. And the other one that's coming, that has come up in my comments, was having children that are so genetically susceptible to damage. And that's something that I'm seeing more and more, of course, in my clinic, where I'm having children and adults who are coming and they've got some genetic disbalances, or mutations. So something like an MTHFR gene mutation, they might have 1 or 2 or, doubles or singles on each of those mutations. So I am seeing more kids that are coming with some of these genetic sort of stuff. And again, all that is learning to listen to the body, get back to really the bare basics. And I know for a lot of those kids with genetic mutations that homeopathics works so much better than even supplements do for them, because it's really easy for their body to absorb. It's easy for them to take in and actually works really effectively for them. And that's just what I've seen in my clinic with my clients works well. So if you do have some of those things like MTHFR, be mindful. Get back to real food. Stop eating synthetic stuff. Stop eating cereals that have added iron to them and have added folate and all of the other crap that is, added to these things. Might as well eat the cardboard box for the nutritional value in most of these things. Stop eating those. Get back to eating real food. And, that's going to cut down half of the problems. Then start to use things like homeopathics and specific foods and herbs to help you rebalance and work what's happening in the body. I can hear my kids starting to kill each other outside. I hope you guys can't hear them. Okay, so Sophia's saying avocado gel, she's using that. Yep. And I don't even really encourage natural cereals. I mean, if there was a cereal that I was ever going to encourage, it would probably be porridge. That's about it. Make your own if you want to make a cereal. But, a lot of those are just taking up space from nutritional food. Yeah, that's my basics. Basil is my favorite herb. What is my favorite herb? My favorite herb would have to be reishi mushrooms, just because of how beneficial they are for the body. And of course, I put them in soups so that we get all the nutrients from it. Mushrooms are like, powerhouses of actually cleaning up and detoxifying the body. So if you haven't got mushrooms in your diet, start to think about it and add in as many different types of mushrooms as you possibly can, because they all have lots of different roles that they do. They have different things that they draw out when it comes to drawing out toxicity. So adding in lots of different mushrooms, not just like the little button white mushrooms that you have at the supermarket. Get as many different types as you can. Get shiitake, oyster, cotinopsis, not cotinopsis, I'm thinking of something else, lion's mane. All of those, get as many into your diet as you possibly can, and they're going to be really beautiful for you in helping to detox and nourish you. Shiitake, for example, is a great protein source. Yeah, can't go past mushrooms. Lots of people don't love them, so maybe get them, dehydrate them, turn them into a powder and add them to some of your cooking that way. All right, what else? What are some of your challenges when it comes to health? What are some of the things that you find the hardest in your home when it comes to health? And of course, I mentioned the overwhelm. There is oodles and oodles of information out there, which is why, I put together the Naturopathic Life membership, which is designed to just each week we focus on one thing and we do another thing and we do another thing, and you can start exploring and you can start tapping into learning a little bit about your physiology and anatomy and how it functions, and learning how to feed that part of your anatomy and physiology, and looking at the mindset that's connected with that organ area. So for example, anger. We're told that anger is really bad and we need to not feel angry, and it's wrong to feel angry, and that anger is negative all the time, when actually there are resourceful ways of being angry and there are non-resourceful ways of being angry. And of course, we mostly experience those non-resourceful ways where people are hurting other people, or they're damaging property or things. But a resourceful way for anger is actually to realize that anger is designed for activation, and it's designed to get you to that space of movement when it creates movement in you, where you actually do something about the thing that you're caring about, where you do something about the thing that you feel angry about, all of that sort of stuff. So we do a body system or a problem area. We do a herb or a nutrient, and how to make it if it's something you can make easily at home, or what plants to get it from. And then we do a mindset one, and then we do live questions and answers where you jump on Zoom with me for an hour to ask any of the questions that you actually have about your health or your family's health, or you just want to know about a particular thing. You get to jump on and we get to talk about that. So, for those step by step, moving through, learning one thing at a time without feeling overwhelmed, my naturopathic life membership is totally for that. Otherwise, go pick a book, look at it one chapter at a time, work on it one chapter at a time. And again, slow and steady wins the race when it comes to getting on your journey with health. And it's taken us many years to, it's taken me easily 11 years to know some of the things that I have in my brain about what to use for what thing. It's not going to happen overnight, but plug into people who do know that knowledge, commit to actually learning that knowledge yourself so that you can be empowered in your own health. All right, I think that's it. I'm going to go do some gardening and walk around my garden and see what I can find. And I'm going to say goodbye to you. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will catch you next time. If you have any other things that you want to add to my list of the challenges that you might have with your health and making health happen in your home, pop them in the comments, because I'll definitely come back and talk about them another time. All right, bye for now. I hope you have an amazing day. Catch you next time. See you later.